From there to Washington and new today, President Obama taking his message directly to the public amid the fierce fiscal cliff fight. After holding a campaign-like stop in Pennsylvania Friday, the president today is urging Congress to extend middle-class tax cuts in his weekly address.
Both parties say we should keep middle-class taxes low. The Senate's already passed a bill to keep income taxes from going up on middle-class families. Democrats in the House are ready to do the same thing. And if we can just get a few House Republicans on board, I'll sign this bill as soon as Congress sends it my way.
The GOP is also out today with a new criticism of the president's plan. Here's Republican Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah.
What he proposed this week was a classic bait and switch on the American people. A tax increase double the size of what he campaigned on. Billions of dollars in new stimulus spending and an unlimited, unchecked authority to borrow from the Chinese. Maybe I missed it, but I don't recall him asking for any of that during the presidential campaign.
Joining me now, White House reporter for the Washington Post, David Nakamura, and congressional reporter for Roll Call, Meredith Shiner. Welcome to you both. Good to see you.
Hi, Alex.
Thanks for having us.
So, David, I'll begin with you. With the president's proposal, in part, it includes $1.6 trillion in tax hikes over 10 years, and that is raising rates on the top 2%, those making over $250,000. The proposal also calls for $50 billion in immediate stimulus and $400 million in long-term savings from entitlement programs. Now, the GOP says this is a wish list for the Democrats, that it's a non-starter. Can you explain where we are right now in negotiations?
Yeah, Alex, even though we've been about 3 weeks into sort of serious negotiations now, we're still sort of at the beginning in terms of the offer. I mean, the White House sent Treasury Secretary Geithner up to the Hill to present this offer and, you know, got the sort of reaction you might expect for a first offer. The White House went for everything here. You know, the revenue that the president's asking for is twice what he appeared to agree with John Boehner on a year and a half ago in the debt ceiling negotiations, which then collapsed. But this is basically the White House saying this is our first offer. We're going to, you know, take a hard line here and make you come to us. And I think the White House is now looking for a response from the Hill. Let's say, you know, if you don't like this, what's your offer?
Okay, so Meredith, based on what he's saying and then just kind of speculating about this, there may be two ways to look at it. You've got the president who just wants to use this as a starting point for negotiations, despite David saying that, you know, a lot of them are saying we want the Republicans to come to them. Or the president feels that he has an election mandate and he's operating from a position of strength. Do you know which one it is?
Well, I actually don't think that those two things are mutually exclusive, Alex. I think that the president does feel that he has a mandate coming out of this election. He ran again, as he did in 2008, on raising those top rates on taxes on income over $250,000. And so I think that this first offer was his way of saying, well, this is the position I'd like to start from. And then the Republicans are going to have to show that they're going to be able to meet him in a way that makes sense in order to get a deal before the end of the year.
You know, David, in your latest article, you write, quote, any political negotiation involves a good deal of bluster, particularly in Washington. Such discussions often involve a period of theatrical posturing, even as staffers continue to hammer out specifics behind closed doors. Do you know what's going on behind closed doors right now? Is it different than what we're hearing?
Well, you know, the White House and both the Hill will say we're still talking and our staffs are working on the specifics. But you saw the president go outside the Beltway yesterday in one of these sort of campaign-style events that he just, you know, he's done so well in the past several months and winning the election. And he, you know, he sort of threw in some lines saying that, you know, if Congress doesn't act, your taxes are all going to go up. You know, unless they do what I want, it's going to be a Scrooge Christmas. So there's lots of posturing like this. I have talked to, you know, Democratic and Republican operatives who say, you know, this is not unexpected. We're in the time. Why make a deal now? You have 3 more weeks. Yes, time is running out, but in the end, they're going to come to the table, you know, like they did last year with the payroll tax cut right at the last minute. But both sides want to sort of, you know, hold on to their bargaining power right now. So you have both sides doing these kind of, you know, events. You know, John Boehner came out right after the president spoke in Pennsylvania and said we're at a stalemate. And so that's sort of, you know, sending the alarm and also trying to hold your cards close.
So, Meredith, based on also what David's saying regarding John Boehner, your latest article is titled Cliff Talks, Send Parties Back to Old Corners. So do you think that will mean the same old results, a frustrating stalemate?
Well, and I think that David had referenced this earlier. We've seen this movie before, right? We saw this a year and a half ago during the debt ceiling debate, and even a little bit before then in the spring of 2011 when they were talking about potentially having government shut down. And remember, we're talking to you today about this because last fall the super committee that was supposed to find $1.2 trillion in savings failed to do that, and so now we're trying to replace those same automatic cuts. And so I think that there's a lack of trust right now between the main negotiators, who are the House Republicans, and the White House. I was just talking to Senator Dick Durbin the other day, and I asked him, is there a trust problem now between the president and the speaker? And he thought that there was. And so they're going to have to work that out, and very quickly, in order to move forward.
What about the trust problem that might result from this if we just continue to kick the can down the road, Meredith, from the trust with the president, the trust with Congress? I mean, don't you get a sense that the American public wants something done this time?
Well, sure, but I think that both sides are quite intransigent right now, and they're guarding the things that they hold most dear, whether it's entitlement programs for the Democrats or low revenue rates for the Republicans. And so I think if you're going to see any comprehensive deal, it's going to be in two phases. It's going to be that first slice before the new year to try to make sure that these tax rates don't go up on all of these Americans. And then you're going to see some sort of setup to deal with some of the larger issues, whether it's tax reform, entitlement reform. You might see some sort of process set up so that the relevant committees can do some of this work, but this idea that after 2 years of not being able to come to an agreement, lawmakers are going to be able to magically come up with something in a week that's going to take care of all our problems, that's not going to happen. It's a much more long-term conversation than that.
Yeah. David, there are not a lot of specifics out on the entitlement cuts to the president's plan or the talk of capping mortgage deductions. That's tactical, right? I mean, because no party really wants to own those concepts.
They don't. I think the White House is trying to force Republicans to own them. They're saying if you don't like what the president's doing, which is, as Meredith said, you know, the president's out there campaigning to keep middle-class tax rates low and trying to force Republicans to agree with that, which they do. Republicans, of course, want to hold out, but I think the White House is saying if you guys want more, spending cuts, lay them out very clearly for the American people, and then we'll litigate that. So the White House is saying, come to us with that offer, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, David Nakamura, I'll take it from there. Okay, Meredith Shiner, good to see you both. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alex.
Well,